Hey everybody, this is Elise from Camp Aska, and you're listening to Camp Aska, the podcast, the show that dives into all things Aska and the people that make camp the incredible place it is. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media to stay up to date with what's happening here at camp. That's at Camp Aska, CampAscca.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Camp Aska, the podcast. I'm Matt Rickman, Camp Aska's camp director. And today we'll be talking with Marianne Gauldin. Marianne is the outreach specialist for the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Wildlife, Freshwater Fisheries Divisions. That's a lot to say. I'm going to go ahead and also tell our audience that the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources touches a lot more things in our lives than we probably realize. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about that today. Be also some of the relationships with Camp Aska as well. So welcome, Marianne. We're glad to have you today.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Great, great. Before we get into talking about the State Department and division, maybe first just tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe where you're from, your education background, that sort of thing.
Okay, well, I have been in Alabama for over 20 years, but I'm originally from Maryland. And so I ended up in the South based on a lot of factors. First of all, it's just Southern hospitality is hard to stay away from once you've been exposed to it. And
Right.
so definitely love the people and the culture of the South and also the beauty of the state. I'm from Maryland, which is another beautiful state, and perhaps they all are, but we have a special place in our hearts for the places we grew up. I went to the University of Maryland in Baltimore County and got a degree in wildlife biology and wildlife management. I was always kind of a Dr. Doolittle type when I was younger and still now, as far as finding critters and being interested in the natural history of wild things. So I decided that if, somebody wise, maybe it was Benjamin Franklin, I don't know, said if you find a job you love, you won't have to work a day in your life. So that was my goal. And
Great.
eh, yeah, it's not like that every day, but most days.
Mhm.
And so now my career is focused on natural resource management and making sure that all of the wild things that I enjoy and have for my lifetime will be around for everyone in perpetuity.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I know we talked for just a second before we got started, and you had mentioned that you had been here before with the Raptor Center. So, I guess maybe tell us a little bit about your career path and how you got to where you are today as well.
Yeah, so when I graduated from University of Maryland in Baltimore County in the 90s, I began several different types of nature and environment related careers. I was an environmental science high school teacher. I worked as a naturalist at various locations in Maryland and North Carolina and even in Alabama. And for over a decade, I also worked at Auburn University doing outreach using the non releasable raptors, which was my first exposure to Camp Aska, was coming to your facility, beautiful facility, and enjoying quality time with your guests as a guest from Auburn University.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and we actually, some of our listeners will remember this from back in the day. But when I first started working here in the late '90s, we had a wildlife kind of sanctuary, and we had some hawks and owls that we had received from the Auburn Raptor Center, and they were ones that could not be released, and
Mhm,
we had
mhm.
those animals here, and we believe it or not, we had a mountain lion and
Oh,
and
wow.
all sorts
Okay.
of things. So, that was a long time ago, but,
Yeah, I knew about the birds. I did not know about the cougar. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, we had a little bit of everything. So, well, it sounds like we're very glad that you came from Maryland down here to the South, and the state's lucky to have someone like you. If you don't mind, could you maybe give us an overview of the Alabama Department of Conservation, Natural Resources, kind of what the different divisions of the department are?
Right. So, just to kind of give a big picture view, every state in the nation has an agency responsible by law, legally charged with managing the state's natural resources. And here in Alabama, it's the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. In other states, it may have slightly different names: DNR, DCNR, Wildlife Commission, Parks and Recreation. So, different states may have different titles for it, but basically, we are the state agency that has to exist in our state in order to manage the state's wildlife resources and land resources and fishery and marine resources so that they are not exhausted, so they are properly used, and so that they are here for the benefit of everyone to enjoy. Whether that means you want to use that resource by eating it through hunting and fishing, photography, bird watching, or even just sleeping better at night, knowing all is well with the world. That's our job. So, the Department of Conservation Natural Resources consists of marine resources,
Mm.
state parks, state lands, and the Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries Division. And that's the division I work for, is the Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries Division. So, just as marine resources, state lands, and state parks have their own big chunk of natural resources that they are responsible for managing soundly, the Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries Division manages all wildlife species and freshwater fisheries, not marine fisheries. And so it's a big job. So there are lots of different species of critters, from salamanders to bald eagles to the hawks and cougars that you mentioned earlier.
Uh-huh.
Not so much cougars, but that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother podcast
Oh, wow.
as far as big cat sightings in
Uh-huh.
Alabama. But basically, what we do with our mission with Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries Division is ensure that our management practices of wildlife and freshwater fishery species means that those creatures and those resources will be available and are managed for the sustainable benefit of future generations. And
Mm.
so we do things like manage seasons and bag limits, decide when deer season's going to be and how many you're allowed to harvest. We decide what species you can't have as pets, what species that you're allowed to view as a nuisance that you can dispose of at your leisure. So, our job is to make all of those decisions, whether it's you're not allowed to hunt bears, all the way down to you are allowed to get mice out of your basement. All of those things
Wow.
are, are under our purview.
Uh-huh.
And we do these things through a variety of mechanisms. So, firstly, we enact regulations to protect the animals and plants at times that provide habitat and also the fishes. And then, of course, we have a core of biologists who contribute to that. And we are also the division that houses all the game wardens that enforce those regulations. And we take active role in it as well. Most of Alabama is privately owned, and we can't tell landowners exactly what they can do with their habitat management practices, but we own or manage over 800,000 acres of wild places. And so those are places that we can ensure that the birds and the bees have a place to do birds and bees type things,
Mhm.
and that these animals will reproduce and be available for the future. So we actively manage habitat for the benefit of multiple species, ospreys, bluebirds, even sometimes creatures you don't think of, snakes, turtles. People think of us and they think about deer hunting, turkey hunting, squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting. And yes, we're in charge of all that, but all species have the same value to our agency as far as their importance of being maintained for future use and future enjoyment by generations to come.
Wow, that is a lot. I didn't
Lot,
realize that
lot.
you covered that much ground. Yeah, I guess, naively, that's kinda how I thought about it was, the lakes and fisheries, and then, like you said, hunting and fishing and licenses, and I believe that that's part of your funding as well, is the licenses? Or
Yes, and this is something that I wish was taught in all schools. We are teaching it in schools. We learn cows come from farms. Farmers milk cows. We learn what a bank is and how money is managed. But this other huge chunk of all of our lives, meaning everything you see out your window, also has a very structured management plan. And it is the state agencies that are in charge of that. And of course, doing those types of things, whether it's writing regulations or enforcing the regulations, studying the species. Just last week, our biologists were doing gator population counts throughout the state. all of those things to monitor and manage these populations does cost money. And
Correct.
so that money comes in large part through either directly or indirectly from the sale of licenses. And so the sale of licenses allows us access to other funding as well. So let me give you an example. The the federal funding that we receive to manage fish and wildlife is given to us in a different amount each year. There's 50 states. The government does not split the funding 50 ways. The government gives each state an apportionment that's based on several factors, including the land mass of the state, which we cannot change, and the number of licenses sold. There is a formula through which states are given these monies to manage their resources, and it is largely influenced by the number of licenses we sell. And so people always ask, hey, how can I donate to your organization? And my response is buy your licenses, buy your hunting and fishing licenses, because it doesn't cost you a lot of money, but every little tally mark we have of a license buyer opens us up to a larger piece of that pot, and we get federal funding in a 3-to-1 match for those license dollars. And that's what we use to manage gopher tortoises, indigo snakes, study the gator populations, set deer seasons and bag limits. And so your purchase of a hunting license doesn't mean you have to go hunting. If you don't want to go hunting, that's fine.
Right.
Don't have to go. But your purchase
You're helping.
opens us up to a lot of funding that is used to manage bird watching species. So it's not just about hunting.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, that's good to know. So any listeners out there, make sure you get your hunting and fishing license because it does way more than you realize.
Yeah.
Uh, that's awesome. Specifically, like to talk to you about the hunting and fishing sites in Alabama that people with disabilities can use. Is there a hunting trail or different sites around the state that are accessible?
Absolutely. And that's one thing about our state's abundant natural resources is they are available to absolutely everyone. Doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your ability, whether it's a limitation that's physical or whether it's a limitation based on accessibility, all of those things are surmountable through the natural world itself and also the avenues that we try to provide to make those things easier to enjoy. So, for example, we have a physically disabled hunting trail, and this is a variety of sites around the state. We have 19 sites around the state that are specifically tailored and managed for people with physical disabilities. And when I say that, I mean you may have zero mobility at all. You may be in a wheelchair, you may be in some type of mechanized conveyance, but we have shooting houses available to house those types of equipment. And so you can access a hunting blind, also enough room in there for a helper to assist, and also specifically managed view for you to enhance the opportunity that you will see game species that come by. And the way that those types of things are handled is through not only the boots on the ground work of making sure it's easy to access physically, but also making sure that the area is not heavily pressured by other hunters. And so these areas are left alone for long periods of time until someone with those physical disabilities comes to use the property and they don't have to worry about somebody picnic that just came through and ruined their opportunity to see anything. And so this is called our physically disabled hunting trail. Again, it's 19 sites around the state. You can see them at outdooralabama.com. And what you would do is apply to be able to use these facilities and then let us know what date that you would like to hunt. And that will be assigned to you for that particular date. And so the hunt dates begin in November and the slots begin to be selected in October. So this is
Mhm.
the right time for listeners who have physical disabilities that would like to take advantage of these special places to go to outdooralabama.com, search for physically disabled hunting trail, look at which spot you'd want to go to of the 19, Send in your application. Basically, that application will let us know that your disability meets those requirements set forth by the American Medical Association or the Veterans Association or the Social Security Administration. And you basically give us that documentation, and then you get started and you go hunt. And we have a variety of partners that make this possible as well. So although our agency is kind of the the face, because we write the regulations, we write the seasons and bag limits, we have the game wardens out there. There are a variety of sponsors and partners that make this possible as well, because some of the lands where this occurs, we're not the owners of those lands. So
Right.
the landowner cooperates with us to allow this and allow physically disabled hunting areas, places that are owned by Alabama Power, the TVA, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Forest Service, state lands and the Forever Wild program, even the Department of Transportation. Some of the properties owned by them, including Auburn University and the University of South Alabama Foundation, the Alabama Forestry Commission. And so not all of these properties are owned by our agency, but these other agencies and organizations and landowners cooperate with us to provide these hunting opportunities that are accessible for physically disabled folks.
Wow, that is great. I didn't 19 sites. I didn't realize there was that many.
Mhm.
I know of some organizations that do that. Outdoor Friends Forever,
Mhm.
and then we've hosted some hunts here as well. But that's great that that they can do that independently.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Mhm.
go out and do those things. Are there? I guess that we were focusing on hunting there. Are there accessible fishing piers, or is that a thing as well, or is that on the website?
Yes, absolutely. We have public fishing lakes also located around the state. And our public fishing lakes, there are 23 of them, and they have fishing piers and that are ADA compliant. Many of them have pavilions that are ADA compliant or even concession areas that are ADA compliant and in covered shady areas. Because I get this question a lot. Sometimes it's not necessarily folks that are disabled, and maybe folks that are extremely elderly and they
Right.
just can't walk a long way, and they don't wanna be baking out in the sun all day, but they'd like to take grandpa fishing, and our public fishing lakes are ADA accessible. They are also stocked with a variety of game fish, and these are fish that we want you to take home and eat, so we're not talking about catch and release here. We're talking
Right.
about take them home and eat them. So our public fishing lakes are also heavily available and accessible for those with physical disabilities. And again, outdooralabama.com and search for public fishing lakes is the way to find those facilities. And a lot of our public fishing lakes are purposely located in areas that are pretty rural, that
Mm.
area residents would have a far way to go to access other fishing places. And in fact, interestingly enough, those public fishing lakes were established decades ago in an attempt to provide a steady food source for those rural communities. And they are still doing that. They provide food, they provide recreation. They're located in areas that are quite a hike from other rivers or good fishing spots. And again, we stock them. We stock them. So, we can't guarantee you're going to catch a fish, but you probably will.
You have a good chance. You have a good chance. Well, that is fantastic. That is great information, and we'll definitely put that on our website as well, so that people can know where to go to find that. Our relationship with Camp Aska, we've had a long relationship. I know I was talking to you beforehand about some of the guys that have been out here over the years and have helped us with some of our programs with our day camps and overnight camps and different things we do. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Doug Dar, who from my knowledge, probably was one of the first people to come out here to Camp Aska and help us with the fishing program. And I know he's retired, but Doug did that for about 25 years with us. And Graves Lovell's kind of taken that over for him, and he continues to help us. And Scott Gross and Graves has even come out and helped stock our pond as well for our accessible fishing. So we just appreciate everything you guys do and what those guys have done for us. And with all that being said and all the things that your job entails. Do you have, I know probably we're not supposed to have favorites, but is there a favorite aspect about your job or that the state does?
Yes, actually, my favorite is our workshops. So we have a variety of workshops that are, again, open to folks of all experience and abilities. We have archery workshops, we have hunting workshops, and we have bow hunting workshops. So these are workshop opportunities where you're not actually hunting, you're learning how. So if you have listeners who, hey, they would like to take advantage of that physically disabled hunting trail, but they don't know where to start, they've never hunted before, we can take it from there. So these are workshops open to folks of all abilities. And we have hunting 101 workshops, archery 101 workshops. Again, they're offered all over the state with details at outdooralabama.com. These workshops usually last about 4 hours. And we basically talk to you and everybody in the room as if you have no experience and we're starting you from scratch. And so don't let the outdoor recreation world intimidate you. We are here to teach you. Lots of people got taught by their grandpa. Well, let us be your grandpa. So, and
Right.
we will teach folks how to hunt, how to fish. We've got places for you to go. We teach you how to use these places, where to park. You really don't need to be intimidated by these outdoor spaces, because the whole reason that they're there is for you to use. That's the
Mhm.
reason why we do what we do. They're not out there just to be put on a shelf. They're out there to be used. So conservation is about wise use of the resources that we have. And so the decisions that we make and the programs that we have available are designed to facilitate people using the natural resources that we have in a manner which ensures they'll be available in the future for others to use.
That is fantastic. I'm learning so much myself. I hope the people that listen are enjoying it as much as I do, or I am. This is fantastic. I didn't know all these programs were out there and that it was such a broad thing that you guys are doing. Yeah, I totally agree with the, you know, tea teach them how to do it. I was lucky enough, like I said, some people have a grandpa or a dad, and my dad was into it, and I grew up in Boy Scouts, so that's how I learned all of those things. And yeah, not everybody has that, so that's a great program. But speaking on behalf of everyone here at Camp Aska, we just appreciate how the state of Alabama and all the people involved are including people with disabilities, but not only people with disabilities, just including people, which is the most important thing. So Marianne, I just appreciate you taking the time to educate us about that and sharing the information. And like I said, we will certainly put your information on our website as a resource for people to find accessible hunting, accessible fishing, and that sort of thing.
That
But
sounds great.
thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to meet you, and hopefully we'll see you out here at camp sometime.
I'd love to come back. Thanks for everything.
All right, thank you.
What's happening at Aska? This is the part of the show where we are going to talk about everything that's happening right here at Camp Aska. Hey everybody, it's Elise, and I'm here to give the latest Aska update. Our summer sessions have officially wrapped up, and it was truly a great time. This is a summer we'll never forget. Now that we're transitioning into the off-season, we're starting to prep for next summer. All of our staff is staying busy as we have user groups using our facilities almost every weekend. A lot of people have been asking for a dining hall update, and at this point, we're still in the waiting period. But we'll update everyone as soon as things start moving along. To date, our fundraiser has raised $190,248. We're so grateful for everyone who has donated, called, texted, and shown us support. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for listening to Camp Aska, the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to you joining us next time. As always, be sure to follow us on social media at Camp Aska and visit our website, campaska.org, for more information about camp.